Half-truths. Misrepresentations of the IPOB peaceful self-determination struggle by African Stream. Although African Stream has recognized certain truths regarding the historical suffering endured by Biafra at the hands of Britain and Nigeria, its reporting has been tainted by misrepresentations of crucial elements concerning the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, particularly in relation to his departure from Nigeria in 2017 while on bail. It is essential to rectify these misconceptions, especially from a media outlet that claims to be Pan-Africanist, yet has neglected its journalistic responsibilities. A thorough verification of facts prior to publication is fundamental to credible journalism. Therefore, it is necessary to correct and inform African Stream and its audience on the following points. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not escape Nigeria or jump bail. The claim that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu escaped Nigeria while on bail is misleading and suggests a conscious effort to evade justice. On September 17, 2017, Kanu's ancestral residence, the royal palace of his father, His Royal Majesty Israel Okwu Kanu, was brutally assaulted by a joint force of the Nigerian army and mobile police. This violent attack led to the deaths of more than 28 innocent supporters, including Kanu's cousin and his pet dog, Jack. Unfortunately, both of Kanu's royal parents subsequently passed away due to the trauma and consequences of this assault. Kanu narrowly avoided what was evidently an assassination attempt by Nigerian security forces. He committed no offense under the law that would warrant his arrest or such an extrajudicial assault. Neither Kanu nor his supporters were armed. They only held placards and flags during their peaceful demonstration. To label his escape as fleeing misrepresents the reality of a life-threatening assault orchestrated by state forces. Disproving misrepresentations regarding Kanu's abduction from Kenya. The assertion that Kanu's family and legal representatives merely alleged his abduction from Kenya represents a feeble effort to minimize Nigeria's involvement in an international crime. The Nigerian government, via its National Intelligence Agency, NIA, in conjunction with Kenyan officials, abducted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya and subjected him to extraordinary rendition to Nigeria. This act infringed upon his fundamental human rights and violated international legal protocols and frameworks to which Nigeria is a signatory. This is not simply an allegation, but a substantiated fact. Initially, the Nigerian government falsely asserted that Kanu's arrest was facilitated by Interpol, a claim that Interpol subsequently refuted publicly. Further investigations have verified that Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya, subjected to torture, deprived of food, and illegally rendered to Nigeria. African Stream's portrayal of this incident as merely a claim diminishes the seriousness of Nigeria's actions. Incorrect assertion: Kanu never directed. Simon Ekpa to lead. IPOB, African Stream's effort to associate Simon Ekpa, a recognized agent provocateur, with IPOB and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is both misleading and irresponsible. IPOB functions under a clearly defined leadership structure, the Directorate of State, DOS, which autonomously oversees the organization's daily operations, especially in Kanu's absence. Any assertion that Kanu directed Ekpa to lead IPOB is unfounded, as Ekpa has never been a member of IPOB. Linking Ekpa to IPOB is a deliberate misrepresentation that distorts the organization's structure and aims. Recently, during his cross-examination trial, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was asked who his liaison was in the self-determination movement, and he identified none other than the movement's Directorate of States as his sole and legitimate representative. The misleading narrative surrounding IPOB's sit-at-home orders. The representation of IPOB enforcing sit-at-home orders in southeast Nigeria by African Stream is incorrect. This sit-at-home initiative was originally established as a peaceful protest in response to Kanu's abduction. However, it was swiftly terminated within weeks as instructed by Kanu from his confinement in the Department of State Services (DSS) facility. IPOB officially declared the suspension of this initiative. The voluntary sit-at-home protests in the Southeast serve as a form of civil disobedience, implemented to evade the violent crackdowns by Nigerian forces that have historically targeted peaceful demonstrators, as evidenced in 2016-2017 and during the 2020 Lekki massacre amid the SARS protests. IPOB does not impose sit-at-home orders. Rather, they represent a voluntary expression of solidarity by the populace, showcasing their discontent with systemic oppression. The enforcement of sit-at-home orders has been confirmed to involve recruited Nigerian agents provocateurs who, under the pretense of Biafra agitation, commit heinous acts, and IPOB has consistently distanced itself from these individuals. Moreover, the assertions of 700 fatalities attributed to IPOB are completely baseless. In fact, it is the Nigerian armed forces and politically motivated individuals who have been accountable for the persistent violence against Eastern Nigerians, perpetuating the ethnic persecution that commenced with the 1966 pogroms. IPOB remains a non-violent entity and holds no accountability for purported deaths or enforced sit-at-home orders. In conclusion, accurate reporting on the affairs of IPOB is essential to prevent the dissemination of falsehoods that could undermine its legitimate struggle. IPOB is recognized as a peaceful self-determination movement in more than 150 sovereign nations. The right to self-determination is an inalienable right of the Biafran people, which includes their political, religious, and socio-economic aspirations. African Stream must avoid publishing unverified claims in order to uphold its credibility and relevance as a media outlet in the renewed effort to establish Pan-Africanism, especially in light of the subtle decline of Western neo-colonialism in Africa. Family Writers Press International.